having all three of those things as a part of my life. So as a leader, I'm hoping that more self-advocates in the future would get the chance and the opportunity to learn about self-determination, to learn about self-advocacy, and to learn about social capital to help them be the best leader that they can be. Next person.
We have Kathy next. So Crystal needs to unmute so that Kathy can speak.
Okay, I did unmute it, but it went back off. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Kathy, go ahead and...
Good afternoon. My name is Satu Info, and I am from myself. I'm the Vice President of SERB. I am going to speak to you about social capital. I am using my iPad to help me.
I am going to talk a little bit about social capital as I have experienced it in my life. Social capital seems to be a subject that is not very well understood by many self-advocates and their allies that I have talked to. I have tried to simplify it by thinking of it in terms of a bank account. When I deposit money into my bank account, I am increasing my assets, which is my financial capital. Social capital is much the same. The bank account for social capital is our life. My deposits are my social relationships, which includes friends, relatives, co-workers, and professionals that I interact with, as well as all of my other acquaintances and personal contacts. All of these relationships make up our social assets, or what we call social capital, and they are a very special and valuable type of wealth. There is an old saying that goes, "It's not what you know but who you know that matters," and it contains a lot of truth. It points out to us just how important and valuable social capital is in our lives. Like many of you, when I was born, families had basically only two options in dealing with a child with a disability. They were either to be placed in an institution or to be kept at home with no supports. Like many of you, I was fortunate that my parents wanted to keep me as part of our family. They were told that I would never walk or talk and that I would be a vegetable, but I had other ideas. After a few years, I did begin to walk and I started to talk. All the while, my family included me in everything they did as just one of the kids, and although they didn't know what it was at the time, they had effectively opened my social capital account. Later, I was tested to go to school and I was deemed to be uneducable. Since this was before the passage of the Education Act, my parents had no legal recourse to get the state to let me go to school. Fortunately, my parents banded together with a number of other parents, and with their cooperation and hard work, they organized a school where about 30 of us who were considered uneducable were able to get an education. The teachers I had, the parents I knew, my schoolmates, and other people involved with the school, including several wonderful volunteers, were the first real major deposits into my social capital account, and I still have some of those relationships today. After I got out of school, I wanted to live on my own like my brother and sister were doing, but there were no supports or services that would enable me to do that at the time, so I stayed home. But I was still interacting with the community through my family activities. Later, I helped care for my grandmother in a hospice program in our home. This led me to volunteer for hospice as I wanted to help repay them for all of their kindness. I volunteered there for 8 years. My experiences at hospice allowed me to meet and interact with many new people in a totally different situation, and I made several good friends there. During my time at hospice, I was able to move into an apartment-style group home, and after a couple of years into an independent supported living apartment with only one roommate. After 5 years, I was finally able to get into a condo by myself with supports, where I have been for the past 16 years. The first thing I and my family did when I moved in was to have an open house and invite all of my neighbors. Many of them came, and it did not take long until I was accepted as a neighbor and part of the community instead of just a person with a disability. Being a good neighbor requires looking out for each other, which I have tried to do, and I have found that most of my neighbors do the same for me. This has proven to me that building social capital is a two-way street and often requires some effort. I was ready at this point to move on from hospice. I knew I wanted to do something to help people with disabilities, but I did not know how to go about it. At the suggestion of my counselor, I attended some people first meetings, and I realized that this might be what I had been looking for. I made new friends and acquaintances and began to learn about a lot of new things. I was elected president of my local chapter the following year. A couple of years later, I attended Partners in Policy Making, which really opened up my eyes to many things, and my social capital account hit the jackpot. I made lots of new friends and acquaintances, and some of them were pretty influential folks. My world was getting bigger every day. Later that year, I attended my first Self-Advocates Becoming Empowered National Conference, and I was elected as an alternate representative to the board from Region 4. Things were starting to move fast. My project coming out of Partners in Policymaking was to be involved in getting people with disabilities to vote, but I also became interested in legislative issues. I attended a candidates forum for an open seat for representatives from the 5th District of Missouri. I was disappointed that neither of the candidates had any real awareness of the issues facing people with disabilities or the impact of legislation on their lives. I decided to approach one of the candidates and request a meeting to discuss these issues. He agreed to meet with me, so I took lots of material with me and tried to explain to him about some of our issues. I was thrilled when he showed some interest and invited me back. After a couple of meetings, he began to relate our issues to civil rights issues, and after a while we struck up not only a good working relationship but a real friendship. He was elected, and the next year he invited me to speak at the Martin Luther King celebration at the historic St. Stephen Baptist Church. It was my first real public speaking engagement, and there was over 1,000 people there, but I made it through somehow. That speaking engagement was a real breakthrough for me and helped me to grow and be accepted as a real advocate for the rights of people with disabilities. That congressman is Emanuel Cleaver too, and I am pleased to say that he has been continuously re-elected since that time, and that he has remained a staunch supporter of the rights of people with disabilities and a great ally and a true friend. I wanted to tell this story today to point out how much can come from one simple meeting that may have an entirely different purpose or no initial purpose at all. The real lesson here is that everyone we meet has the potential to change our lives, and we have the potential to change theirs. That is the great but often hidden value of social capital. I have been fortunate to go on from that speech and become very involved with many major advocacy organizations both at the state and national level. I have met many wonderful people who have helped me learn and grow and find ways to help others, which was always my goal in life. It is important to realize that social capital only has real value when we use it. While we are always looking to meet someone who may be of help to us, we should also always be looking for someone we can help. Social capital is about building relationships, which is about helping each other. Social capital, like a bank account, might seem to grow slowly at first, but as you keep adding to your account, it grows faster. The more people you know, the more opportunities you will have to meet and interact with other people. I have found that there are a few simple rules that will help you in your quest to develop your social capital account, which includes the following. Never be afraid to introduce yourself to someone you don't know. Always be polite and respectful. Learn to smile easily, and most of all, learn to listen. Learn to really hear and care about what other people are saying. If you listen to others, they will usually be interested in listening to you. In closing, I just want to thank the committee for this opportunity to share some of my thoughts and experiences with you today. I also want to say that I believe the two most important things a person with a disability can have to help them through life is the right to make their own decisions about their lives and the relationships they build with other people. These relationships are the heart and soul of social capital, and they will provide you with resources and supports that will help you live the life you choose. Thank you.
Good day.
All right,
I'm
let's,
through.
great.
Thank you, Kathy. Oh, Brian.
Next is Brian.
Was everybody able to hear Kathy's speech? Okay.
Yes,
Yes.
it was very nice and clear. Just as a reminder, though, before Brian starts, if you could please mute any of your computers or phone lines if you have the mute button. We did have a little bit of background noise, so please mute if you're able to from yours, because Juliana needs to leave it open to make sure no one gets disconnected. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Brian.
I'm unmuted.
Perfect.
Hi guys, this is Brian. I'm Brian Murray. I'm president of SAVE, and self-determination, self-advocacy, and self-capital. I guess when you talk about people with self-determination, we all start where we start in our lives, that we don't, that's when we first start to learn about self-determination and finding ourselves and start standing up for ourselves. Recently, I got married on April 27th, and I don't know, a lot of you know about the marriage penalty, where if you're married together, the government, if you're on SSI and SSDI, well, they take your SSI benefit away. They took $387 away from me. And that's a lot of money. Most people who wants to get married but cannot get married or won't get married because they don't want their benefits to get cut. So self-capital, self-determination, and all three of them where they can work together. I have learned that, and through Tia and Nancy and the rest of the crew, I have learned to speak up for myself. When I ran for the president of SAVE, I wasn't going to do it, and Tia kind of, well, those who know Tia, she died in my face, and I'm okay, I'll go do it. And that's when
I'll say to my
Sweetie, and I've heard me.
I call her Crystal Whistle, the baby girl.
that's one of using your supports, and you help them. So right now, I'm learning to speak up. We're find out my senator is on that committee. We're taking stories, and I'm not only trying to help myself, but I'm also trying to help others who want to get married can get that dream. If that's their dream, that should be their dream. And that's also against, I don't care what you believe, but those who believe that you should be married first, that, well, you should have the opportunity. So right now I'm helping people getting their stories down, and we're going slowly go to Congress and try to have this rule change. This is part self-advocacy, self-determination, and self-capital. Is when you, like the other said, when you use your supports, when you help them, and you help others reach their dreams and goals. Thanks, and that's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Next, we have Bill Story.
Hi guys, here's Bill.
Okay, this is Bill Story, Region 4.
Can you hear him?
Yes.
I'm just going to talk about how I got into Special Olympics. And in 1974, my neighbor next door or across from me had a daughter that was with special needs, and they got me into Special Olympics. And then I did classes for developmentally people from 1974, 77 through 1982. Then I got hired, and I did a lot of traveling through JCDS and Special Olympics for 34 years. Now I'm a coach. My mother had a stroke in 1960, and we had to put a pool in the backyard, and lived in the house for 33 years, and 5 years by myself, and then I moved to an apartment, and I've been there for 20 years. Thank you.
So Bill, can you tell us what it's been like to live on your own?
Hard sometimes.
And why is it hard?
Well, I'd have to have a partner, a roommate, so that it's just to divide the
responsibilities
and payments.
Did you like living in your own apartment?
Yeah, I had a roommate, and now I have another one, and my pet.
So what kind of people in the community are your friends, like people that you know?
School,
Who at the school do you know and how they supported you?
Well, we found out that Kathy used to be a student in the CLEAR program.
He's talking about Kathy Enfield,
Kathy
who's
Enfield here,
that's a leader in the self-advocacy movement.
and then I got into 2004. I went to my first SAVE meeting.
And how has self-advocacy helped you connect with people or meet your goals in life?
Just gave me something to do, and loved it. And I love it, so I want to keep going.
All right, well, thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Move on to the next speaker.
The next speaker is Nancy Ward.
Thank you. Can I go ahead and go?
So Nancy, unmute.
Yep, I'm unmuted now. Sorry, guys, it took me a minute to get unmuted.
Perfect.
Well, I'm going to share with you some examples of self-advocacy, self-determination, and social capital, just like Tia and other people have done. When I first started in the being a self-advocate, I didn't have any role models because People First in Nebraska was one of the first states to have self-advocacy. So one of the things that's real important to me is that I share that with other people so it doesn't take them 5 years to learn how to advocate for themselves. And I'm going to share with you some different stories about how advocacy has played a big part in my life. We wanted to do in Nebraska, they still had state statutes, like in their state statutes they had words like moron and idiot and imbecile, all the kinds of words we really love to hear. And so it made People First mad, and People First didn't like it, and so we wanted to know what we needed to do. So we talked to one of our friends. He was the director of the ARC of Nebraska, and what he told us we were going to need to do is, this is an issue that's important to People First, so People First needs to do it. In telling us that, that meant a lot to People First, because he could have said, oh, I can go and talk to the senator for you, you know, instead of letting People First do it for themselves. And so I went and talked to one of our senators. His son was a member of our People First chapter. And so when he heard that they still had moron, idiot, and imbecile in our state statutes, he said he would work with us in getting rid of that. And so when they introduced the bill and how the senator usually talks and introduces the bill, he let me do that. And so I got to introduce the bill. And there was, for my job, I used to work for one of the service providers. And 7 people that I was working with, helping to teach them how to advocate for themselves, were there. And we went back and talked about the bill, and to 4 of the 7 people, it was an issue to speak out for themselves and to have their voices heard. So they wanted to tell staff how they felt about being part of a workshop, that they didn't like that. And so what I did is I helped them write letters to the staff, and then they talked to the staff about why it was important for them to be able to have a real job and what that meant to them. And the staff listened to them, but they said that they didn't even realize that they were treating them differently, because what was happening was that staff would get to go on break for all day if they wanted to, and people had a set time to do their break of 15 minutes. And also, staff could take their break anytime that they wanted to, and people had that were in the workshop had a set time to do their break. And so in the procedure and policy manual of the service provider, it is stated that everyone will take their break be able to have their break be 15 minutes, and that they can that they'll have their break in the break room just like everybody else. So that's an example of how advocacy can work for you. And then I want to jump ahead a bit to where I moved. Now I live in Oklahoma, and when I first moved here, I was recruited by People First to become the self-advocacy coordinator, and so that was a big honor for me to be able to do that. And so I was really excited about it, and a lot of people couldn't believe that I was going to move after being in Nebraska for 46 years. And I have a condo in Nebraska, and I was told by my parents that I wasn't going to be able to sell the condo and use the money for when I moved. And they wouldn't let me do anything with it for almost a year before I could use the money from my condo. because they thought I was going to come home and move back to Nebraska. And now I've lived in Oklahoma since 1997. So, and I really like being here, and I like being a part of People First, and having my own life and getting to make my own choices. That's very important to me. And part of self-determination is learning from your mistakes. And when, you know, everybody makes mistakes, and we need to learn from our mistakes. But say, for example, a person with a disability would bounce a check. How many people haven't done that before in their lives? But when we bounce a check, our checkbook is taken away from us. So I think that there needs to be some equality there. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm losing my place.
You're doing good, Nancy.
So I think that people need to have confidence in themselves, and in order to get confidence in themselves, they have to believe in themselves and have other people believe in them. And that's why social capital is important, and that's why it's important to be a part of a People First organization or a self-advocacy organization. And I just wanted to thank people for letting me give you guys some examples. And that's the end.
Great, Nancy.
Thank you.
We have Crystal next.
Hi, everyone. This is Crystal McCarthy. I'm the statewide advisor for People First in Missouri. I also help out with SAFE's PR committee and help them with newsletters and websites and things like that. And I think that you all have me coming on to speak with you about how to support self-advocates and self-advocacy organizations in self-determination, as well as how to build your social capital. Juliana and Teresa, I don't know if you guys can pull up a website with your program, but if you can you pull up the National Gateway to Self-Determination website? Is that possible?
www.ngsd.org.
Let me see. What's it called again?
www.ngsdn3 no, go back. n3sd.org.
D as in dog.
That it?
No, in like National Gateway to Self-Determination. NGSD.org. There you go. It says that I'm talking too loud in the microphone. I apologize. So this is the National Gateway to Self-Determination. Right there in the middle. In the middle. Oh, that's a video. Oh, you want to go? Oh, yeah, we're gonna go and watch the video.
We talked to people with disabilities about self-determination. We asked what it means to be self-determined and why is it important. Brad, what is self-determination?
My definition of that is being able not only to be independent, but to be able to make the decisions necessary to live the life to the fullest of my choosing.
Yeah. Scott, what is important about self-determination?
To be able to make your own choices and stand up for your own rights. Sometimes, as people with a developmental disability, people want to make a lot of good decisions for you if you're not careful. I'm very impaired, so I don't really let people make decisions for me.
Kathy, what is important about being self-determined?
Self-determination is where a person is able to self-determine their own life and make choices and be independent and being able to hire and fire their own staff. They can be able to do more things without having to be relying on others. I'm one of those examples. I try to do a lot of my independent stuff by myself without too much dependency. But there are times that I do need help, like when I need to get better nutrition or better choices in life. The other thing I can say about self-determination is that people get to speak up for their rights, and they'll be able to speak up to anybody politically or just in the state.
Jenny, what is important to you?
Hi. What Walgreens are you at?
Stand up, but you know, to stand up.
No, they couldn't do. I'm sorry. I thought I texted you after. No, it's at the one in Park Forest now.
What does it mean to be self-determined?
Yeah, they were shut down. I'm sorry.
My team and me.
So it's at the one over by the theater.
That it's about you.
Oh, thanks.
So
okay.
Part of self-determination is the self part, and the self part is you.
I'm sorry.
The concentration is you.
Okay.
Because their team is looking at you as the spotlight, as the example of who you are, and continuing to stay healthy, the way, not just how they want it, but how you want it. And if you want to be that example and be in the spotlight, we got to show and act like it and know who we are and that we can do it. If I can do it, you can do it too.
Okay, now that we've seen that video, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, now that we've looked at the video, there's a lot of really great resources on here. They have the tabs that say for families, for people with disabilities, and for professionals. So I think that this website has a lot to offer. I would really recommend that anyone that is supporting a self-advocate, a self-advocacy organization, or a person's website, and just kind of look around and see what kind of resources there are out there. There's also a lot of videos that are on YouTube. So if you look up self-determination and on YouTube, you can see a lot of different videos. So I think that's about all I have. It's really important as an advisor or a person supporting self-advocacy to try to promote self-determination and try to include social capital, trying to build people's social capital as much as possible, because like Kathy said, it's not what you know but who you know, and that's true for people with and without disabilities. So I think the more that we can promote that, the better it'll be and the easier it'll be for people to build their social capital. So thanks for letting me be on your webinar.
Thanks, Crystal.
You're welcome.
All right, Teresa.
So before we move on to the Resource Center, I'd like to ask if there's any audience members who have any questions for our panelists. Juliana, let me know if you have someone who comes up. I'm not sure if I'll see it. If there's any questions at all about self-advocacy, self-determination, and social capital, please ask that now. One of the things that I think is really interesting about this is that people with disabilities struggle with making some of those relationships happen, and I have the benefit of knowing quite a few people who are great at doing the introductions of self-advocates to other information, to other people, and I know that I wouldn't have been as far as I am without people supporting me to develop that social capital. And so it is critical that we take the opportunity to find those people that are naturally good at social events and connect people up with them so that the person doesn't end up left out of a really great opportunity that it could affect them personally through employment and other things. So connections are what it's all about when you're talking about employment, which we talk about a lot, but we don't really always spend a lot of time on how relationships are built between coworkers and things like that. So it is really helpful to have great mentors to share with people in the self-advocacy group. You may not know that that person sitting next to you has been terrified to talk to their coworkers on break times. And we heard that some of those opportunities do get missed, but when they do happen, things do improve and people feel stronger. That's just some of my thoughts on social capital. I think it's something that I would have struggled with for quite a bit longer had I not been involved with self-advocacy. So for all of my mentors on the phone, I appreciate you, and I think that we all should make a challenge to ourselves to involve somebody else in helping them develop their social capital this year, the rest of the year, and have a really successful new year with all of the new connections that you help them make. Juliana, is there any questions at this time?
I don't see any questions.
Okay. Well, Brian, would you like to do the resource presentation with me? If you're still on. I think you are. You may be muted.
I'm on.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay.
Hey.
So let's talk with the audience about the resource center. Juliana, could you move it to the next slide, please?
Yes.
I just lost the slide.
What, Brian?
I just lost everything.
Okay. Well, just in case someone hasn't been on these webinars before, our Community United activities include doing a national survey and identifying 10 topics or areas that we can put on as webinars, and to create a resource center at the SAVE website. Go ahead, Juliana.
Yes. Next one.
Yes, please.
I'm back on.
Okay. Do you want to talk about this slide that's up?
It's self-advocacy common power savings, asking organizations to share information that can help other self-advocacy groups. You know, earlier on the slide or in the presentation, you saw a group of people in the circle holding each other, making the circle. That was the resource center can help other groups and advocacy organizations can connect with each other by doing this. Okay.
Next one.
Next one.
Would you like to do this one, Brian, or me?
You go for it.
Okay. So here are the kinds of things that we're looking for the Resource Center, at least to be considered to be reviewed by our Community United team. We get handouts. We'd like to look at some trainings, PowerPoints that you have, toolkits, samples, forms. Tell us about friendly programs on the computer that you found, activities for groups and organizations to do. You know, it's always good to spice things up when you're doing a presentation. Do you have something really cool that you and your group are doing that you would like to share? Please share it with us. Share with us your favorite websites and helpful hints and marketing items. It's some of the things that we found out was that a lot of the self-advocates were using really old brochures that had old slogans and things like that because the person who supported them, you know, didn't leave them with the tools to help them create new things. And if you look at all of the different things in the little picture there, it's talking about doing videos and having forums and blogging, connecting with the community and being social. And it's all about mentors and communities and doing the things that you like. And that's what self-advocacy is going to be. We have to look towards the future. And we need a place for people to find this stuff together. Go ahead, Juliana. Brian, would you like me to continue? You want to do this one?
Do you want me to do this one?
Yes, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay. Again, what we're looking for, building stronger organizations. One, I know SAVE is doing this right now, purpose, value, and mission statements. You know, and everyone has the different, you know, different ideas on value and mission statements. And you don't know, and I think it's so cool and to share some of those share with them with those statements and the mission, because where some is struggling, the mission statements of values can help some areas. Budget form. Again, when you got to deal with money, so you got to have budget forms. Again, there's all different areas in different states has different forms. And if it's working for you and you want to share it, well, just send it in our resource center. Agenda samples, especially new groups that's starting up. It's a good idea to see some samples of agenda because they're just learning, and so they can use, you know, samples will give them a good idea how to start it and going ahead. Planning and strategies. Again, when new ones are just starting, they're just learning to plan and strategize, and so other areas have them. And before an area before your group can start, you gotta have a plan, and you got to. It's just like a battle. You make a plan of your strategies, and you form before you go with your battle. Understanding nonprofit status. That is, you know, whoever did with IRS knows that's not an easy thing at all. So, you know, if anyone out there has, you know, help people to understand nonprofit, well, great. But you need to understand the nonprofit status. Social networking, Facebook. I'm on Facebook all the time, and Gianna, most of the time, Facebook, you missed this, Brian. Where were you? That's a way you can get hold of people. Is on Facebook. And that's part of social networking. And networking also can be social, and it can be all different ways of networking in your community, in your state, or with others. You know, find out and save, and this the webinars they're putting on is a good way to do it. Managing money grants. When you get grants, there's a lot of paperwork. There's a string attached to the grants. So you've got to learn to manage them. Different kinds of money. Again, like managed grants, there's different kinds of money, and there's all kind of funding or money out there. You just got to look. And some groups or other areas might have some cool ideas. Successful fundraiser. In fact, I was talking to one of our state reps, and he used to go to our next meeting because he had a lot of successful fundraisers. And, you know, so if you don't know how, contact this organization, this grant, can help you connect with people who does fundraisers. Bylaws. You gotta have bylaws. And again, that's look around in different foundations, different groups. You can learn the bylaws, how to develop bylaws, and sometimes if you have bylaws, well, sometimes they might be changed. But again, this part of teamwork and working together, or leadership. You've got to have leadership. You know, that's when you start in the group. You've got to develop how you want to. How are you going your elections? How is it? Again, there's other groups that can help with you. If you're starting to start your group, get some ideas. They're out there. And SAVE is one we can get all the information and we can give it to you. Gianna and them have been really good at this and this grant, and so they're really good at it. Event planning. You got to, if there's different events, if you have a good event, work in your area, share it, give it out, because there's groups like my group right now in Roosevelt is no more. We're starting to start a whole new People First group in Roosevelt. And so we're in the middle of planning. And so if you have any good ideas for, like for example mine, share them, put them out there, send them in, and we would love to get a word to help other organizations. Okay?
Perfect. Next slide.
Next slide.
So this is what the team, the review team, uses to look over all of the different things that are submitted. And this is using a tool that has most of the things that I have learned and the team have learned make things more accessible and friendly to people to use. So we look at all of these different things and we score each item, each document or submission to the Resource Center to make sure it's user-friendly and all that. They score these items, and then an average comes out, and then we will decide which ones are the best of the best and put them up on the Resource Center. If you send in something and it is not accepted, we can also make recommendations of how you could make minor changes and resubmit, because we know that you worked really hard on the things that you're submitting, and we do want to give you a chance to be accepted in the submissions. If you're pretty good, then you would be on the second level of if you need more information, here are some more examples. But we'll put our top 3 or 5 in each category up on the Resource Center, and that way you don't have to go searching all over the internet to find really good self-advocacy information. So this is what it looks like. Things about being easy to use, provides a really simple kind of way of doing things step by step. I find that really helpful for me. And how to involve your group, it has activities, easy to understand, something that you can take, for example, if it's a form, maybe you can take and add your logo on it, because we like to share things in self-advocacy. Why remake something that somebody has done so well? And yes, we always want to give the original group the notice that we appreciate all the time that they took to build the thing, the item, so that everything gets recognized. And so we would put a special thank you to, and whoever that was that gave it to us. And when we use it, I just think that's a respectful way of doing it. And then we also look to see if the computer program that it uses, for example, Word or Excel documents, whether they're easy to use and those programs are easy to learn. There may be better ones out there, and we would love for you to show us what they are. And then we score that and take all of the check boxes to see how well that item does with several people, and then it'll be put up on the site, or we'll go back to the group and ask them to make some minor changes. So, next slide. And when the Resource Center, goes up, the Resource Center will be located on SaveUSA.org website, and we are very excited, that that Resource Center will be developed shortly, and you'll be able to share some of our first selections on the website. So be looking for that in the next couple of webinars. We'll be announcing that. Next slide. The scheduled webinars, the next one is August the 5th, and it is funding for self-advocacy, and our group will plan that all out. It'll probably be filled with lots of strategies, lots of different things you can try. Not every group is prepared to write a grant, so what can we do? We're going to take a look at those kinds of questions and see if we can help figure out what you can do next. And hopefully we will have a variety of presenters like we did today to help you through the topic so that you can use this webinar to help your group become stronger. Is there any other comments or questions at this time? Juliana, do you show any questions at this time?
No.
Well, I would like to thank all of the presenters, and we really enjoyed your information. I think it's going to be a really helpful tool for self-advocacy organizations, and I appreciate all of our listeners. Your support is much appreciated. Thank you, everyone, and have a lovely day.
Thanks.
Thanks, Teresa. Gianna.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.